You're listening to
The Classroom Collaborative
podcast with your hosts, Dee Wills
Ed Rock
and Adam Peterson.
Here we go.
We're so glad you're here.
Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I am Adam Peterson.
I'm Dee Wills. Hello.
And hopefully my microphone stays in check this time. We are joined by a guest today. We're excited to be back with you guys. Kind of reached out to a friend of ours and wanted to get some advice from the wonderfully talented teacher, Mrs. Hilary Statham. How are you, Hilary?
I'm doing good.
Currently holding a baby as you're talking to us.
A good baby.
Yeah, he's a good baby, but I'm getting used to having a little one. My girls are 5 and 7, so it's been a while.
Yeah, I remember when you were pregnant, I texted you like, hey, how are you doing? You're like, being pregnant at this age is so much different than it was 6 years ago.
Yeah, I'm about to be 37, so it's a little different than when I was young 30s.
Right. Well, we wanted to bring you on, and I know this year has been exciting for you as a teacher and a mom. But I remember talking to you back at the beginning of the year, and you called me and you go, oh my gosh, Adam, I'm switching grade levels. And I was like, added on top of the stress of teaching during a pandemic, you're switching grade levels and you're pregnant and you're going to have a baby. So we thought no one better than you to kind of talk about the stress of teaching during a pandemic. So before we do that, why don't you tell everyone who you are, what you do, and what makes you the amazing educator you are?
I don't look at it that way, but I am, my blog is called Pencils to Pigtails. And I actually started that when Heidi was about 6 months old. So I've had that for about 4 or 5 years. And I am usually a kindergarten teacher. I was just thinking the other day, I have taught 4th, 5th, kindergarten, transitional 1st, and 2nd in my 13 years of teaching.
Wow.
So my heart is really with kindergarten. And I just got the news that I am probably back with kindergarten this year.
Probably. So, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be back with kindergarten next year. So I spent half the year teaching 2nd grade this year. And then I went on maternity leave. And I extended my maternity leave the minute I saw him.
Oh, yeah? So what was it supposed to be?
I need more time.
I texted my principal from the hospital that I wanted to extend my leave.
He just said, good.
Yeah. She was very happy for me. She was good with it.
So would you have been back already?
I was supposed to go back March 23rd.
Oh, my gosh. So are you out through the end of the year then?
I'm working the last 4 days of school.
Okay. Well, that's good closure for your little ones.
Right. I want to go see the little ones, and I want to pack up my room, and it's hard to let another teacher do that.
Right.
You'll never find anything again if you don't do it yourself, right?
Exactly.
So you've been across the board. I mean, I've known you as a kindergarten teacher. That's when I first met you in California at a conference, and we've become friends. And then, like I said, I'll never forget that phone call. You called me, you're like, Adam, I need to talk to Trisha. And I was like, why? She's like, because she teaches 2nd grade and I'm being shifted. And I was like, wait, doesn't school start like tomorrow?
Yeah.
And you were like, I don't know what I'm going to. So talk us through, because I'm sure there's teachers that have dealt with it. I'm sure there are teachers. I mean, I can only imagine there are teachers that are going to deal with that going into next year with the way things are going right now, not knowing what next year will look like. I've heard from, I can't tell you how many people who have said they're making the decision to do an early retirement because of everything that's going on. They can't handle the stress. So I'm sure grade levels are going to be, I actually just got a message from a kindergarten teacher this morning who's a friend of mine that she's moving to 4th grade. And I don't think it was planned. So how did you take that message? I mean, I know how you took the message, but how did you handle?
After you panicked and called Adam, then what happened?
How did you handle the stress and turn it into the most positive that it could possibly be? Not only just the transition, but on top of the year of a pandemic of teaching too.
Well, the funny thing is when my principal called to tell me that she really needed me to move to 2nd grade, I was on the beach. And I was the only person that knew I was pregnant. My husband didn't know. My kids didn't know. I was the only person. So, of course, I couldn't tell her that I was pregnant and I didn't want to move this year because I knew I'd be on maternity leave. But anyways, I told her I would do it, and it might have just been until Labor Day, and they thought more kindergarten students would register, but that did not happen. And I think the hardest thing for me was that I've put a lot of money into my classroom and doing flexible seating options, and I had told her, I will move for you as long as I can keep my classroom set up the way it is. If I can have them there. He's going to start crying.
He's so sweet. I love it. He sounds like he's agreeing with everything you're saying. Like, yeah, Mom. Yeah, Mom.
I'm going to try laying him down, see if he's a little more comfortable. Yeah, I wanted to keep my classroom the way it was. So she had agreed to that, but she wanted me to teach out of a classroom that had 20 desks, and I hadn't taught in a classroom like that in a long time.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of change. But honestly, I was upset at first, but those kids just brought the light back into my life because they were so sweet and excited, and they were excited that I was their teacher, and it was fun for me to have them. And we moved back into my classroom about a month into school. So we went from this room with no decorations, it was 20 mismatched desks and chairs.
Oh.
And we walked into my other room that I'd spent a lot of time on, and it was all flexible seating, which had to be adjusted a little bit with COVID. But they were really excited about the new room, so that was kind of a fun. I said, I have a surprise for you, and we walked down, and they got to see the newer, nicer room.
I love that. Now, did you know some of these students? Had you had some of these students before?
I had 2 of the students before.
Oh, okay, so not that many.
I knew the other ones, but yeah, we have 5 kindergarten classes at my school, so I had 2 of them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was fun though to have them again.
Yeah.
Did any part of you think to say to your principal, all right, if I'm moving to 2nd grade, you're going to give me my kindergarten class that I had 2 years ago?
I would have liked that.
Yeah. Or was that like, no, I don't want those kids?
Actually, Adam, you've heard me talk about that class before. That was my class with Remy and Connor.
Oh, yeah.
And those were the kids I was presenting. I had talked about them at a presentation the first time I met you. That was just a dream class. And I would have loved to have all of them again.
So I guess I didn't know that you moved back to your old room. I thought you were in a 2nd grade room the whole year.
I think it was a month or maybe even 2 months into the school year, they let me take the kids down to my kindergarten classroom.
Okay.
I think they were worried about them feeling alone because they're on a different hall than the other 2nd graders, but they were thrilled about going to a different classroom because the one I was in was really just thrown together last minute.
Right.
I know what your classroom looks like. I mean, it's just amazing. So how was it? Like, how did you stifle that? I was a little OCD about my classroom. Like, how did you stifle that for the whole time that you were in that room? That wasn't your room.
I am OCD, and I felt so strange. And I'm sure part of it was being pregnant. I was like 3 months pregnant. I was crying a lot because I just felt so out of place being in 2nd grade and having a kindergarten room still set up and trying to set up this 2nd grade room. But the kids were just, once I was with the kids, I was fine. I was ready to teach and ready to go. And 2nd grade's a wonderful grade to teach. But my heart's just with kindergarten, so I'm wanting to go back.
Well, that's where you belong for sure. Listeners, when she said Labor Day, we didn't know. I still remember you called me Adam, if we get this many more kindergartners, I'll get to start with them tomorrow. I'm like, wait a minute, school starts tomorrow? You're like, yeah, a kindergarten registration is when we're going to find out if I'm teaching kindergarten or 2nd. And I remember getting off the phone with you and talking to Trisha. I'm like, I don't know how I would handle that. And Trisha's like, I'd walk. There's no way I could do that.
Yeah, I was pretty upset at first. I had agreed to do it to help, and
right.
I don't know that it was a really question, but she had said, I really need you to do this. How do you feel about it? And I had agreed to do it, but I thought I was going to be going back to kindergarten after Labor Day, or after a few months. But
what you described happens to a lot of teachers. Yeah. A lot of schools have to last minute shift. And, you having the experience to be in different grades, probably made that a little bit easier than what I hear from other teachers as well. Some teachers, they've only taught one grade, or this is their first year teaching, or all of those things. And I guess that's just the reality. It can't really, as budgets are so tight, you can't have excess in one area and lacking in another. So, but boy, that's stressful.
Yes.
Right. Well, and I think I remember telling you this, Hilary, and I think all teachers, if you find yourself in that situation, not that anybody wants to be in that situation, but I told Hilary, I said, there's gotta be a reason. Like there's nothing against anybody else in that building, but there's a reason that she came to you, right? Like, and I remember and I wasn't doing it just to pump you up, but I was trying to pump you up. Like I was trying to give you a pep talk. Like, listen, there's a reason, like obviously this principal sees something in you that she's choosing last minute to send you to a second grade classroom. So I think that's a good way. Not that any of us ever want to be in that situation. And trust me, I've never been in it, so it's easier for me to say. But if you find yourself in that situation, I tried to tell Hilary, I was like, just own it. Like, like be proud of that. There's something, obviously the principal thinks that you can handle it, where some others might not be able to, so. Right. I mean, that was my way of looking at it positive, but again, I wasn't in the situation. I probably wouldn't have looked at it that way.
I think just the most stressful thing for me was having the 2 classrooms. So when I got to go back, I was really happy, and you could just see the kids, that they were excited to be in a room that was set up.
Right.
Yeah. Set up better than what we had. But it was wonderful having those students again. And I've shared this story before, but my grandma taught in a 1-room schoolhouse, and it was the year that she died, I had just started teaching, and she said, Hilary, one day you have to teach 2nd grade because that is the best grade to teach, and they still love their teacher, but they're independent. And so I always kept that in my head during that transition time of, I've got to do this because my grandma said this is the best grade.
Wow. That's a cool story.
Yeah. I love teaching 2nd grade. I taught 2nd grade for 4 years. I loved it.
Did you know Tricia says the same thing?
Huh?
Tricia says the same thing. She taught junior high for, 9 years. And always wanted to go lower. She always thought 3rd grade was going to be where she was at because that's where she student taught. But she has found her place in 2nd grade. I don't know that she'll ever teach anything else.
That's a great grade. I mean, I love kindergarten though. I mean, kindergarten it's kind of the bomb. It's kind of amazing. It's such an honor to be that first teacher, school experience. That's a huge responsibility and honor. But 2nd grade, I'm not going to lie, they kind of can tie their shoes. They can do a lot. They can zip their coats. There's a lot of stuff they can do.
It's a sweet spot. And you'll say, turn to page 47, and they do it. It's like, wow, they know how to do that. Yes, and they tie their shoes, and there's no bathroom incident.
Yeah, not so bad.
I love how you say that. And they'll just do it. Like, yeah, bathroom. That's not something I miss. All the little, I'll never forget, like, kids holler, Mr. P! I'm like, where did that come from? They're like, Bert's in the bathroom again. I'm like, come on.
That's funny.
Oh, Bert. We miss Bert.
I miss Bert so much. I still hear from his mom quite often. They moved away, but he sends me stuff in the mail all the time. He's always writing these little stories that he mails me. It's so sweet.
Oh.
So did he send you something for your book?
He did. Well, I put him in the book. So he's got a page in it, and I sent him a copy, and he sent me back this really nice note and actually a video too that they sent me that said, thank you for
the video. I saw the video.
Thank you for putting me in your book, Mr. P. Like, he was so excited about it. It was so fun. Isn't it? I just saw all these memories pop up. That came out a year ago already. It's bizarre to think that it's been out a year.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that long.
No. So one question I had too, Hilary, because I'm sure there's teachers who next year are going to face this. What was it like trying to, and maybe I don't know if you had to train someone or how it worked with your maternity leave, if it was someone that was pretty comfortable, but I can imagine. I mean, I've never gone through a maternity leave. I took some time off with Tricia when Landon was born, but I'm sure I can't imagine the stress of turning your year over to someone else on a normal year, your classroom. But what kind of steps do you have to take during COVID to make sure that this teacher coming in was handling it the right, like, was that put on you as a teacher, or was there training in place for that teacher? Or how did that play out?
So it just so happened that the teacher that took over for me is a certified teacher, and she's taught for a long time. She had went into retirement, but I think she's coming back out of retirement.
Oh yeah.
Our district had kept her busy from day one. She had not missed a single day of school doing other people's maternity leaves.
Oh my gosh.
Into my classroom. So she was used to the whole COVID thing.
Okay.
Didn't have to do too much, but she's actually the one that had kind of taught me about flexible seating. And so during COVID, I have what I call assigned flexible seating. They were
Yep.
comfortable seating options, but you had to go to that same spot for at least a week until I could wipe everything down and they could go to a different spot. So that was a little adjustment. She was used to flexible seating, and so that worked out okay between the two of us, but we did have to discuss that.
Well, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
having somebody that's familiar with the building and the rules and kind of how things are done and your coworkers, that's a gift for sure.
That's a lot. And she is a very excited teacher. She comes with a lot of ideas. So she had said, you don't have to leave me detailed lesson plans for every day. I like to come up with my own things. Tell me what standards to teach. And to hear that was so freeing to me, because it's hard to tell them what to do every single day of 6 to 8 weeks. And now what has turned into 12 weeks.
Wow.
So she'll be able to, I'm sorry, Adam, I keep stepping on what you want to say next, but she's going to stay with your class until you come back?
Yes, she is.
That's, wasn't like,
yeah, well, she was actually scheduled for another maternity leave after mine. We only have 2 elementary schools in my district. It's a small district, but they ended up letting her stay with my group. So
it wasn't like somebody you're going to have to see every day. You didn't like steal her away from somebody else, right?
No, she was in the other school. I don't know how that got worked out, but somehow it got worked out.
That's good. No, I was going to ask, because we haven't had the opportunity really this year to have teacher, like in the classroom teachers guests on, because everybody's so busy. Like our guests this year, this school year, have been friends of ours who are out of the classroom or people outside the education world. So this is kind of a new conversation. We haven't really had the chance to talk to someone who's gone through the teaching in COVID style. So
yeah, in the face space, we had Cindy Price who came, and she talked about virtually, right? Because she's been teaching virtually, but in the classroom. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So how? I mean, I'm sure I know it was stressful. I know, but what did you find to be, if there are any, what are some positives that came out of everything that you witnessed this year, from going to a new grade level, from having to set up a classroom the way you did, from trying to teach through masks and dividers and whatever it was that you had in place? I mean, there has to be some positives that you noticed.
Mm-hmm. One thing I've heard this from other teachers too, is that the kids were so excited to be back, that they were just more, they were paying attention more, and they were just thrilled and happy to be there. And so that was helpful. Mm-hmm. We were all just excited to be back at school, and we have been back since day one. We went back in August, and we did take kind of a longer Christmas break. COVID had kind of started getting bad in our area. But other than that, we've been in person. Good. So it was kind of interesting teaching with mask and all of that, but the kids adjusted.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember we've been in person the full year too, but our kids were half day for quite a while, but it was due to construction at our school. And I remember picking the kids up at lunchtime, and we'd get home and Landon would still have his mask on. You could take that off, but he's like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm like, you don't have to leave it on at home.
Yeah, they got used to it.
They did. And then when we were quarantined, when I was sick, that our kids were the same, like you just meant. They just wanted to go back. I remember Landon almost in tears one day. He's like, Google Meets is the worst thing ever invented, Dad. He hated having to Google Meet into his classroom when he knew his friends were there. So I think, yeah, I mean, as hard as it is, and again, I can't speak from the experience of it, but seeing Trisha go through it, that's the same thing she said. She said it's just so nice to be in a classroom again after last spring.
Yeah,
Right.
they were all excited. And we didn't do a whole lot of virtual learning in kindergarten in my district because the students just didn't have access to the internet where I teach at. A lot of them didn't. And so we did a lot of packets. We would set them out the front of the building and they would come by and pick them up. We had options for virtual learning, but it wasn't required. And I actually did some home visits from afar. I would pull up in their driveway and put something out, and then so that was fun to go see 20 kids that way, but you had to keep your distance. But I mean, it was definitely an experience, and I think about my 5-year-old, and that's all she remembers is a pandemic.
Right.
You know, she can't remember it when we didn't have to wear a mask.
That's so weird.
That's true.
So is she in kindergarten this year, or she was in it last year during all this?
She's in preschool, so I'm hoping to have her in my class next year.
Okay. All right. So she's late 5. All right. And then your oldest is what grade?
She's in 1st grade, so she'll be going into 2nd.
Okay. So she's probably hoping you were going to teach 2nd again, huh?
Yeah. She was like, 'cause I had her in kindergarten. And she said, Mom, now you can be my 2nd grade teacher. And I was like, listen, that was one and done. I can teach you for 1 year, but from then on, you are somebody else's.
That's awesome. So how has it been? I mean, this is not education related, but I'm just curious. What was, after, having 2 kids of our own, what was having a baby in a hospital during COVID like? Was it insane?
Well, I was worried that they were going to make me wear a mask, like during the delivery and everything. But in my area, you could have your husband in the appointments with you. But I've heard from some teachers that couldn't do that.
Wow.
So it was nice that he was allowed to be in there for the appointments and everything.
I couldn't imagine not going to that kind of stuff as a dad. That would be hard.
Yeah.
So Dee Dee, I know you taught other grade levels in kindergarten and 2nd grade. Did you have to switch mid-year, or was it your choice to do it?
No, I knew there was no mid-year switch. I taught, my first job was a 2nd grade teacher. And then when I moved, to another state, I got a 2nd grade teaching job then. Then I took a couple years off as the, instructional coach, and then begged to get back in the classroom. I'm like, okay, I love doing the coaching stuff, but please let me back in the classroom. And, we had a kindergarten teacher who had gotten an administrative job outside of our district, kind of last minute. So they were desperate. I'm like, put me in. And so they did.
Pick me.
pick me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How was it making, and I'm not looking for you to throw anybody under the bus here, Hilary, but what was it like switching from team to team when another team didn't know if you were going to be on their team? I'm sure your teachers are amazing, but for teachers who might have to go through this in the future, was there any advice you would have about working with a brand new team as well? Because I mean, you build a family amongst your team. You really do. I remember our kindergarten team we were tight. Like that's who we hung out with at school. That's who we chatted with at school. That's who we saw outside of school. So what advice do you have about making a switch like that? Or then maybe for new teachers who are student teaching right now and going into a brand new team next year?
Well, I had taught with one of them before in 4th grade. So I had taught with her before. And then the rest of them were just really welcoming to me, and they shared things with me, and they knew I was probably only going to be teaching that grade level for 1 year. Right. And so they knew I wasn't going to want to spend a lot of money on teachers pay teachers or, a lot of time creating things for that grade level. And so they were really good about sharing things they had learned. And, it's just really a learning experience, and to go in and talk to each teacher in their room and tell me, what do you do each day? And tell me your schedule. Because when you sit down with a group, they're not as likely to share as much. And it helped me to go into each room and say, tell me what you do. Because there are 5 2nd grade teachers this year. And so I tried to talk to each one and gather some things from each one.
I think that's really good advice.
I'm sorry, Em, go ahead.
No, I said that's good advice, good idea, rather than just doing it during a group planning.
We would talk at a group planning, but they don't share as much that way. And if you go into the rooms and talk to them. You'll learn a lot. But it was a really welcoming group. And I've switched grade levels so many times, and I just try to get along with everybody, and there's going to be different personalities everywhere. In every grade level that I've worked in, there's been different personalities, but I just try hard to get along with them and really just learn from them because they have so much more experience and knowledge about that grade level than I did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's sort of like, I like the idea of going into individual classrooms because, everybody has a different teaching style. And I usually found, a couple people who are a lot like me in one area, but other people who are really different than me, in another area. I had more of a teaching strength in one discipline and they had more of a teaching strength in another discipline. So it's nice to be able to gather all of that knowledge and pick and choose those things where you feel like, I don't really know a whole lot, or I see that this teacher is really effective with this. I can go and get that information from them.
Mm-hmm.
So right. I love that idea.
It's a good point. I also think it's a good way to find out that you might have more in common than you ever thought, right? Like when I first started, my neighbor teacher and I she was like we shared a doorway, right? So we worked together every single day. Our two rooms were together, the kindergarten, other rooms were down the hall. And we got close really, really fast. And my friend Honor, who I talk about quite a bit, when she came back to kindergarten, she was near retirement. And I'm not saying anything about teachers near retirement, but you know how some teachers, that they are the one, like they do what they do because they've been here 30 plus years. And I'll never forget Honor coming to my classroom as a first year teacher and saying, tell me what's going on in here. And I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, I'm supposed to learn from you. Right. And she would do that. She'd go to all the first year teachers and just say, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your teaching style. And it's funny because I don't know that had she not done that, I don't know that I ever would have gone, and this is probably so terrible to say, but I don't think I would have made that first approach to go to her classroom. You know what I mean? Because here I am, this young first year teacher who needs to talk to me right now. Like I need to go find them. But
right.
I think that's a good point, Dee Dee. When you go, you're going to obviously find out different personalities, more like you, more maybe not like you, but you might find something that you didn't know was there too amongst a teammate that you might not have found before.
Yeah. I've heard a study before that said, he's going to start fussing a little bit.
He's like, tell that one, Mom.
Random babies, but I've heard a study before that after your first, I think it's your third year, or maybe it was your fifth year, but you reach your level of effectiveness, most teachers, and they don't grow, they don't get any more effective than they are in that first 3 years. And that study statistic always bothered me. Mm-hmm. And I thought, you always need to be getting better. You always need to learn from other teachers. Somebody's going to have a better way of doing things. And, I don't know. I've just always remembered that statistic. I heard it probably when I was in my third year, and I thought, I don't want to be like that.
Right.
I need to learn every year.
Yeah.
I'm sure we all, and everybody listening to this, can think of some teacher they've worked with who did feel like that. Like, you just know, like they're done. Like they think that they rule the roost. But there's something to be said about a team, like you said, Hilary, who was all just welcoming, especially in a last minute switch like that. And you were able to go chat with each one of them individually. There's something to be said about teachers like that for sure. Yeah.
Well, I needed to learn from them.
I'm looking at you, and I'm starting to rock.
Were you doing it too? Like Hilary's rocking her baby. We're both just
rocking the baby.
If you put this on YouTube, it's going to be the funniest episode of Hilary kicking around with toys and.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Well, we all need to learn from each other constantly. I mean, I've learned. So I tell Dee Dee this all, like just our conversations each week. I learn from her, and I think that's what I don't know if you learn much from me, but that's what I love so much about presenting. And I think people sometimes, and that's why I try to start every single one of my presentations. Like, listen, I'm not an expert in any of this. I'm just here to share ideas with you. And I hope, but I like to think that makes teachers feel a little bit more comfortable, because I really do. I learn more from the teachers I'm presenting to or with than I think they ever learn from me, because it's such an awesome networking situation, and I can't wait till we can get back to that someday. But even in the virtual space, when I'm teaching teachers virtually, I'm constantly saying like, who has something to share about that? Or is there some way you can elaborate on that? Or put in the chat something you're thinking, because even though I'm not in the classroom full time right now, I'm constantly taking those ideas back to work with the students I am working with.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
I don't want to be an expert. I feel like people who can say I am an expert, like, then where are you going to go next? Like, right. Where do you grow with that?
Yeah. And being at those conferences, and I've met so many amazing teachers, and we still talk today. And I think, right, this is my friend from California, and I met her just after, doing a presentation with her. One I'm thinking of in particular, I'm really good friends with on Instagram, but we message all the time, share ideas. And that's where I met her, was at, a conference there.
I remember that's how I met the two of you. I approached Dee Dee when her and Deanna were, actually it was when you had Matt at a conference with one of his friends slinging products for you guys. That was the first time you and I really connected in Schaumburg. And then I remember Hilary, like, we kind of walked past each other in a hallway, and I was like, Hilary? And you're like, Adam? And we were like, hey, and had never met before. And it's one of those things that I miss it so much.
I do too.
Where I've made some of my best friends is at those events. But I just got word that like one of the conferences I've done before is already planning in person next year. So I hope we're on the right track.
Oh, I hope so.
I think we are. I think so. I don't know.
I think so too. I have a couple things that I know that I'm doing in the fall already. So
awesome.
I'm glad for that.
Well, thank you, Hilary, for taking time out of your busy day. Thank you to your little man for being so good. Look at him. He's so sweet.
I know. He's so good.
He has torticollis. Have you ever heard of that?
Why have I heard of that? What is that?
It's something with his neck. And when he was in the womb, there was some kind of, maybe he was too, crouched in the air or something. His neck wants to go to the side. So you see how he's always looking to the right. We have to start physical therapy to try to get his head to face forward and to stretch over to the left side. He always wants to face towards the right. And so that'll be interesting, physical therapy with a 2-month-old.
Right. I have heard of that because a friend of mine, but their daughter was more, not so much looking, it was more leaning. Like her head leaned when she came out all the time.
Yeah, that's kind of what he does. It just comes with a little tilt. But anyways, that's why he wants to be held like this all the time, I think. Because when you try to hold him like you would a normal baby, his neck has to go the wrong way. And
oh, yeah.
He likes this, so he can always be facing right.
He will love his physical therapy.
Coming for you, right, Hilary? Like one thing after another, right?
Yeah.
It's so sweet.
Bring it on. I can handle it.
Well, you mentioned your blog, Pencils and Pigtails. Is that the best way for people to find you? I know you've got some amazing products out there as well for teachers. What's the best way for teachers to find you on social media and on Teachers Pay Teachers?
Yeah, it's Pencils to Pigtails. That's the website address .com, and I'm probably most active on Instagram, so that's an easy way to contact me. But also through my blog, if you hit contact, it goes straight to my email. So I'm always happy to chat with teachers. If anybody's making a move of grade levels, I'm happy to walk you through it because it can be stressful.
Perfect. Well, you made it sound very unstressful in our conversation today. So good job.
I said I was crying. I cried quite a bit.
Tears happen, right? Yeah. Tears happen for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you for being here today, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
All right. Thank you so much, Hilary.
Thank you for having
me. Bye, everybody. Hey, thanks for listening to the Classroom Collaborative Podcast.
If you are enjoying these episodes, please make sure that you subscribe wherever you are finding them.
And share and rate it so others can find it as well.
We'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Bye.